thank you for coming and giving us an interview and a chance to talk to you, both of you, Miriam Kleinman and Leslie Kleinman, Lazar Kleinman. Leslie, we are on a project named Marking Jewish Sathmar, and on the second part of that project in Satu Mare, Imeti Sathmar. Could you please tell us how were your feelings when you decided to participate, or when you were invited to participate at this project?
I was very excited. I always wanted to come back to see. I came back 5 years ago, but I didn't know anybody here, so I didn't know nothing. And now I even saw the synagogue where I learned, Teil. I saw my house where it was before. And obviously, after all these years, it wouldn't be there, the house, but I saw the place where it should have been. So I'm very excited, actually, to be in Satu Mare. You know, I didn't think I'm going to live long enough to see Satu Mare. So it was really exciting for me, you know, to be here. And I've learned a lot, and I tell you what, the students, I must say, they're all lovely students. This is very important for me, because a lot of people are saying some of the students, you know, are no good. You know, I'm saying every student I've met, they're unbelievable. They're really good students.
Thank you. And Leslie, did you recognize some places in Ambud or in Satu Mare?
I couldn't recognize anything because everything has changed. I couldn't find my house. I would have recognized it. My house was with straw on top. You know, it wasn't like that. But it was nice. I felt I'm here in Satu Mare. I feel that when I go back, there's a lot of people from Satu Mare who live in London, and they're all going to ask me about Satu Mare. So I feel like, you know, I can tell them now what they want to know, mostly actually Jewish life in Satu Mare. Unfortunately, I can't tell them a lot about that. But yeah, they'd be interested. My rabbi would be very happy with me because I'm wearing a skull cap.
He will be proud of you.
He'll be proud of me.
And Miriam, how were your feelings about coming to Romania, visit Transilvania and Satu Mare?
Well, I first got to hear about Satu Mare and Leslie's life because it was only about 5 years ago that I met Leslie, and it was only 3 years ago that we got married. And of course, I was also excited to come here for the first time to see where Leslie's life had started and where he lived. And it was also exciting and very sad for me to know what he'd lost. And so it was with a lot of mixed feelings that I'm here. But all the people, especially all you students and everyone we have met, have made us so welcome. We almost feel that we are part of a big family now. It's wonderful, really.
Would you, or can we talk about the most interesting part of the project, of the second part of the project in Satu Mare? Did you have something like the interesting part for you from the project?
The exhibition that we had in the synagogue in Satu Mare, oh, that was utterly also the work that all the students have done in presenting this exhibition is beyond imagination. They brought the past back to life, for me especially, because it's difficult for someone that hasn't lived through that or been in that situation to, you can't imagine anything, but those pictures and the exhibition actually brought it back to life for us. So it was a magnificent thing that all the students are doing for the survivors.
And surely you talked about Satu Mare and Romania with Leslie before?
Oh yes, yeah, we often talk about his past, his family, and of course with Leslie talking to many schools in England, to the children and the students. I'm living through him what happened to him. It's as I said, it's exciting in some ways and also very sad to know what has been lost to the community and to the larger world at large, of all the people that passed away in this awful way.
And while talking about Romania, Transilvania or Satu Mare or Ambud, did you imagine it like that?
Yes and no. It's obviously expanded and built up much more these days. I imagined it more like a village type life, you know, small villages dotted around, and of course now all the villages have more or less become one bigger town, or so it's modernized, and but in my mind it was very village-like before I came. Yeah.
And Leslie, it's the last day of the project today. What are your feelings about the project? Because you are going home, back to Germany, not home, to Germany tomorrow.
I can't be grateful enough to bring that back to life again. You know, it's wonderful what the job you're doing. You can count them on your fingers how many people would do that job, what you're doing. It's unbelievable, and the students, what they're doing. 2 years ago, I was asked, for instance, in a synagogue in London to speak about Teil, because there was, they celebrated the day when he came out from camps. They paid $1 million to get him out from Bergen-Belsen. And on that day, on the 27th of Kislev, which is roughly 25th of November, he was freed. And so they had a big party there. And they asked me to speak, but I didn't know too much to speak about Sathmar. I couldn't remember everything, and I couldn't speak too much. Although I did study by Teil. I studied in what they call a yeshiva. I studied by him for 1 year when I was 13. And but I don't really remember too much. You know, I remember seeing him, and you know, the picture which is on one of the papers. That's how he looked like. But I don't. They were so grateful that I spoke in there. I'm hoping that I was going to say, ask them if they're so interested in Satu Mare, and I would like to ask them, would they please help with money, you know, to build the synagogue a little bit up, because it's after all, it's history, and it's falling to pieces. I mean, sorry, cracks everywhere, you know, and they've got the money, they could do it. So that's why I like to ask. Mind you, they would say there's no kosher restaurant here, and there's no Jewish people who really are keeping the religion. So it would be very difficult, but I can try. You know, because if they're so interested in Sathmar, they should really pay something. At least that's got nothing to do about religion. It's about preserving, you know, what their grandfathers have been through. That's what I'm asking. So I'm hoping that I can get something. I'm not sure. I'm hoping I can get something.
And see, Leslie, you are talking about helping the town Satu Mare, helping the community and the synagogue. Do you feel maybe after this project marking Jewish Sathmar, would you describe Satu Mare or Ambud or Transylvania or Romania as your home? Or?
Well, it was my home, yeah. I mean, you are where you were born. I mean, I have a Romanian woman, you know, for instance, an example, she wouldn't say she was from Romania, and I told her, you should be proud of being Romanian. You are Romanian, and I'm proud of being Romanian. I was born there. So why should I not be proud of? You can never take that away from you. You're born there. And I was living here till I was 14. And all my young life, I lived in here. So, you know, it's a lot of memories, but unfortunately, it's a long time now, you know, we've been away, and obviously it's not there what we hope for. But, you know what, in Jewish they call it the shtetls. In the olden days, all the Jewish people lived in smaller areas, not in big towns. And that's why when they speak in the Jews, when they speak in London, and fathers, they always speak about the shtetl. That means the little towns. And each town had a little synagogue, each town had a community, a small one. And it was really, you know, a celebration of a wonderful life. My father, for instance, he was a rabbi in Ambud, but he was also done funerals, he done weddings, he played the violin, you know. So he done most of the things which shouldn't do. He should be a rabbi only, but that he couldn't afford in those days to keep somebody else who actually does the songs which my father had to do. I was born in Ambud, by a very Orthodox Jewish family. My father was a rabbi, a shochet. He was a moil, I don't know if you know what that means. And he done weddings, funerals, he done everything because there's nobody else. He couldn't afford a chazan, which is a kent. So he done everything. And so I was brought up very Orthodox. And I had payout, you know, like this is my pictures you can see when I was a kid. So why I wanted to come here, I wanted to come here to Ambud to see where I lived, because I've been away for a hell of a long time, nearly 70 years now coming up. And my daughter wanted to know what it was like here, and she was, and there's a lot of people in Sathmar who actually, their parents, their grandparents come from here. And they all want to know about Satu. So when I get back, I should tell them what I know. I studied by Teil, and the last 13 years. He was a very Orthodox rabbi, but we call it a yeshiva. I went there for 1 year when I was 13, and he's still very famous. He's got 110,000 followers in America alone, in New York. And he's got in London, he's also got about 35,000 who live in one corner of London. And he's the Mashiach, sort of. He's really very popular still. But for me it was very important because the students, you know, here was unbelievable. And they helped us so much. They were like, we were like a family together, you know, when they came. But then, you see, what I speak in schools only about love, not hate each other. You know, and I tell them how important it is to love each other, not hate each other. Because in the end, we're all human beings. It doesn't matter who we are. We're all human beings. Why? Animals don't kill each other, but we do. And it's very important. If you want to have a decent life, I try to teach these kids and tell them what, you know, how important it is. And they listen. I can tell you, they listen a lot. But I do a lot of schools. I've been 5 times to Auschwitz already speak to students. It's very important because I'll tell you why. I've lost everything. I lost my home. I lost even I lost my name. My name wasn't Leslie Kleinman. My name was 8230. I've lost my clothes. I lost my Bible, which I've had from when I was bar mitzvah. You know, I got a beautiful letter from my grandfather. I've lost them because I packed in my clothes and I got striped clothes. So now I'm thinking, why did God save me only? Why didn't He let me go same with the others? And I think it took me 60 years to find that out.
And why?
And I think He wanted me to go to the schools and speak to the children. We should never forget what this guy's done to one man to another man, you know. And I tell you what, when I speak to them, sometimes I cry, sometimes I joke. But you know, when I see me crying, these kids cry with me. That's how interested they are in the schools. I've never had a bad school yet, and when I speak, my wife will tell you don't hear a pin drop in the school. You don't hear that. They're so quiet. And the headmaster of the school, we had 400 children, and the headmaster of the school comes up to me and says, Leslie, how do you do it? He says, I got 100 and I can't stop them talking. He says, you got 400, not a pin you had in the whole hour. So they're very interesting. And that's why it's like, I saw my father or Hashem or something come to me, said, you must go and speak about it, because I haven't spoken for 60 years about the Holocaust. Never spoken about it. So I came out, you know, and started speaking about the Holocaust and telling him what you know. But as I said, I see different, I see Muslims, I see different religions. I said, we're all one people. We're just human beings. Forget about this, all these different, we shouldn't hate each other because we're dead, because I tried to tell him. But I don't speak about politics, you know. It's not my scene. I like to speak some, especially in England. We have a lot of Muslims, you know. We have a lot of Indians. We have a lot of other nations. And we have a lot of Gypsies as well, and they come to school. But I don't speak to none of them. I speak to them as one family, as one lot. We're all the same.
Thank you for the interview, Miriam, and thank you for the interview, Leslie.
Thank you very much.
That's exactly what I wanted to tell you. So.
Thank you.
Danke, Marc, dass du heute bei uns bist und unsere Einladung angenommen hast, damit wir auch über das Projekt namens Marking Jewish Sathmar mit dir sprechen können.
Es freut mich, hier bei dir in der Sendung zu sein.
Marc, könntest du uns darüber kurz berichten, wie es zu dem Projekt kam, wie es zu der Idee des Projektes kam?
Ja, also ich habe ein Stipendium von der Robert Bosch Stiftung und der Bundeszentrale für politische Bildung aus Deutschland gekriegt. Und ich wurde dann zum Max-Mannheimer Studienzentrum aus Dachau, also zu dieser Institution geschickt. Und dort zusammen mit dem Bildungszentrum haben wir diesen Projekt entwickelt. Sie hatten die Kontakte, sie hatten auch Ideen und ich kam eigentlich von Sathmar, die Stadt, die eigentlich eine ziemlich große jüdische Bevölkerung in der Zwischenkriegszeit hatte. Und so kam die Idee zustande, ihre Kontakte mit meine Kontakte hier auf lokaler Ebene zusammenzubringen. Und eigentlich das Projekt hat zwei Teile. Das erste Teil hat in Dachau stattgefunden, im April dieses Jahres. Und jetzt das zweite Teil mit denselben 8 Studenten, die auch in Dachau waren. Und jetzt dieselben 8 Studenten aus Sathmar, die auch hier sind, in Sathmar. Aber Leslie Kleinmann und Erwin Farkas sind auch hier.
Welche waren deine Erwartungen von dem Projekt, vor dem Projekt?
Ich habe mich auch mit Minderheitenfragen auseinandergesetzt, auch in Rumänien, auch mit der deutschen Minderheit. Und ich habe ein großes Interesse in dieser Richtung. Die Erwartungen waren nicht so groß, weil ich mit der jüdischen Minderheit aus Rumänien noch nichts zu tun hatte. Die Kontakte, die ich hier hatte, waren sehr gering. Und es ist eigentlich auch für Sathmar eine neue Sache, dass Überlebende, also Zeitzeugen, hier kommen und sprechen in der Synagoge. Und der Herr Präsident, der Herr Deci, hat auch unser Projekt gelobt.
Und zukünftig, wo kann man das Projekt finden oder was sind die Endergebnisse des Projektes?
Also wir wollten auch die Jugend irgendwie einbeziehen, so hatten wir auch 8 Jugendliche im Projekt, aber die Medien, die wir für diesen Projekt auch angehen, sind zum Beispiel die Online-Medien. Also wir werden eine Webseite haben, wo man alles finden kann, mit denselben Namen, wie das Projekt heißt, also markingjewishthatmar.ro. Wir werden auch eine Menge Videos haben, also die auch zugänglich auch auf der Webseite sein werden, aber auch auf verschiedene Online-Kanäle, die Filme eigentlich auch streamen. Wir hatten auch Pressemitteilungen und ja, die Veranstaltung, die wir gestern hatten, in der Synagoge wurden von mehreren Zeitungen, mehr als 10 Zeitungen übernommen. Und das kann uns wirklich nur freuen, in unserer Stadt so multikulturell Projekte zu entwickeln.
Und was glaubst du, wenn man überhaupt über so etwas sprechen kann, gibt es einen beeindruckendsten Moment, den du hattest im Rahmen des Projektes?
Ja, das kann man ganz schwer schätzen, aber die Sache, dass ich solche Leute neben mir sehe und dass diese Leute hier groß wurden und ich auch und diese Parallele, wo ich mich mit diesem Ort identifizieren kann und sie können das auch machen, das war für mich also eine wunderbare Erfahrung und das war eine Sache für meine Seele sozusagen und das hat mich sehr gefreut zu sehen, dass wir einen gemeinsamen Punkt haben und das ist Sathmar.
Und Marc, du bist ja auch sehr aktiv, machst auch andere Projekte und nimmst auch an anderen Veranstaltungen teil oder organisierst sie selber. Kann man schon konkret über Zukunftspläne bei dir bezüglich der Projekte sprechen?
Ja, also eigentlich ich bin nicht nur aktiv, sondern ich habe auch 3 NGOs in Rumänien gegründet. Das erste NGO heißt Gutenberg, deutschsprachiger Studentenverein. Also wir sind wir organisieren Projekte auf nationaler Ebene. Zurzeit, also diese Woche werden wir die Sommerschule haben. Das ist das größte deutschsprachige Projekt für Jugendliche, also die größte Sommerschule aus Rumänien. Es sind über 100 Teilnehmer und auch mit den Veranstaltern um die 130 Leute, die aktiv im Projekt sind, und alle Workshops und Trainings sind in deutscher Sprache. Das zweite Verein, das ich gegründet habe, heißt Verein für politische Bildung. Wir organisieren mehrere Projekte dort. Wir haben auch eine Online-Zeitung und wir versuchen Rumänien auf dieser Schiene der politischen Bildung irgendwie aktiver zu gestalten, weil diese Konzepte sind noch in Rumänien sehr jung. Wir haben eine junge Demokratie und man muss die entwickeln. Und die Zivilgesellschaft hat die große Verantwortung in Rumänien, solche Konzepte auf den Markt zu bringen. Und das dritte NGO ist ein NGO in Sathmar, das heißt Studia. Und ja, wir sind auch ganz frisch, ja, hier auf diesem Markt sozusagen, Markt der Freiwilligen. Es ist ein Markt, wo die jungen Leute neue Konzepte lernen, Konzepte über wie man die Zivilgesellschaft ändert, wie man eine Idee ins Praxis umsetzt. Und ja, wir organisieren hier auch Events, die mehr im Bereich Kultur, aber auch Jugendarbeit gehen. Zum Beispiel werden wir jetzt ein Event haben, das heißt Ambud. Es ist eine Veranstaltung, wo mehrere Bands kommen werden und ja, auch Street Arts, auch Biker und eine Menge solche Sachen, die die Jugendlichen attraktiv finden.
Und wie war das Feedback bezüglich des Projektes Marking Jogging Sathmar generell?
Also das Feedback war sehr gut. Wir hatten auch ein riesenguten Feedback auch von der Robert Bosch Stiftung, von der Bundeszentrale für politische Bildung, von Max Mannheimer Studienzentrum, aber auch von den Teilnehmern, die 8 Teilnehmer, die auch in Dachau waren. Und insbesondere, was uns gefreut hat, war das Feedback, das wir von Erwin Farkas und Leslie Kleinmann gekriegt haben. Die Leute, die eigentlich auch im Mittelpunkt unseres Projektes waren und die eigentlich die Überlebenden, die jetzt wieder die Erfahrung hatten, ihre Kindheit sozusagen wiederzusehen. Und das hat uns auch gefreut, dass sie auch uns einen guten Feedback gegeben haben.
Vielen Dank, Marc, dafür, dass du heute hier warst. Und wir würden auch sehr gerne auch mehrere Stunden mit dir noch verbringen und über deine Zukunftspläne und über die zukünftigen Projekte sprechen, aber vielleicht hoffentlich in einer der nächsten Sendungen.
Ich würde mich freuen, in einer anderen Sendung dabei zu sein. Danke sehr für die Einladung.
Danke. Liebe Zuschauer, wir verabschieden uns und heute nach einem sehr vielfältigen Programm, nach zahlreichen Gästen und wobei auch das Wetter nicht immer mitgemacht hat, verabschieden wir uns und wir erwarten Sie wieder vor den Bildschirmen nächste Woche, wenn es wieder heißt, mit einer anderen Kollegin Transilvania Policroma um 17 Uhr auf TVR Cluj.